So with blueberries, you can see all of your, there's some passion vine or something growing here. So once you've uncovered your blueberry, so I can see, this went through 3 periods of drought last year without much, so it's showing stress, the darkness here and all. And that might be from just the vine being on it too. And it looks like this has been here for a while. And I'd say that most of these branches in here are at least 3, this is probably at least 3 years old, this one here, and this one. When they get about 5 years old, I usually cut them out and try to get new growth. I don't know exactly what to do with this guy, but here I see some dead wood. I see not very much. You see, that's a fruit bud. That's going to be fruit. Anything that's big, any of these, that's all fruit on the tips there. So I don't see a lot of it. I didn't get a lot of growth on this one. And we're going to leave this one and go over to some of the Alapahas. This is probably Areca. That here it's not, it's a small bush. It's not as vigorous, say, as some of the rabbit eyes, and I should back up a little bit. You have different species of blueberries all over the United States, and the first blueberries that came about were from the bogs of New Jersey. And there was a woman there, Dr. White, that found in the wild some really nice selections. Those are fairly soil specific. So when you plant blueberries, you plant them in a mulch like this. They like a woodsy kind of soil. So just about all of our plants are planted in a lot of this, and then we put it about 5 feet out from the plant. So we have a blueberry row, and over the years you can see that the ground is higher because we've added mulch every year. The mulch turns into this topsoil after a while, but that's what they like to grow in. And the southern types are very much more adapted to Virginia but they don't grow in clay like our red clay. They won't grow in there at all. And it's not that they're so involved with an acidic soil, because a lot of times your red clays are not alkaline, they're acidic, and they won't grow in clay at all. But they get from the symbiosis of the rotting woods type cellulose sticks, wood chips, rotting logs. What they get from that, they evolved with it, so they're very symbiotic. The bacteria that breaks down the wood chips, they die, and that's the nitrogen that the plant uses. And then mycorrhiza builds up on those wood chips, and the mycorrhiza works symbiotically with the roots of the blueberry. So you get magnesium or potassium in a shared kind of thing. So there's this whole colony of organisms that are happening for blueberries that's different than a lot of plants. And if their soil needs are met, they grow very well. And then of course they need water. And so I'm looking at this guy, and I want to recreate. I want to get some fruit, but at the same time, I want to get it growing again. And I just took that off because there's not one fruit bud on it. See, so it's just taking up energy, and I'm hoping to help this. This is the same. This has got a few fruit on it, and it's tried to make be a substantial branch, but it's just not done much. So I took it off to take it back, so that maybe if we get a good year, it will it'll come up and maybe replace some of these older branches. Mm-hmm. And I'm real close to wanting to just take, because this is a little crowded in here, and this one's coming up here, I'm real tempted to do that. Because this, with that outward branching, these can come up and take the place of this one in a couple of years. And I did cut off some fruit, for sure. But again, I wish this thing just looked more vigorous, and I'd feel better about it. This too is trying to come up and recreate itself. And maybe I'll do that. And again, it's just a wait and see on this plant.
Do you worry about spacing like you did with the raspberries?
You mean with the canes?
Like, yeah, like the spacing between them.
Oh, like, well, I don't look at them as canes, but I don't want them over each other for sure. And yes, and I may do. Now this pheromone is a great twist tie, so it goes over here to tie down some new grape or something later on. So I haven't done a whole lot of pruning on this guy. But I did take that one major branch out.
Now you talked about like the 5-year mark, taking them out. Let's say you have something that's been around for like 10 years that's never been done. Would you take some of that old stuff out?
Depends on how how productive it is.
It's pretty big.
Yeah, then I think I'd leave it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you could also make that same the decision after it fruits and see what you think then. And I'm thinking that this is not going to be, I'm going to get some fruit off of this, and I'll be happy, you know, with getting, I might get a pint of fruit off of there, or a half, maybe in a half pint. It doesn't look like too much. Why don't we walk over to some of the ones I want to show you that are growing a little bit more vigorous. What's it called over there near Prose? Humphrey Hollow? No. You know, that's a real nice area. Anyway, and that's a National Geographic photography. But you see all this new growth. And I should say with these guys, I've got 14-foot wide bird netting. And so I basically, if this stuff gets too tall, I can't net it well. So that's just another thing that I do about my blueberries is try to keep them down a bit. Especially, I've got 3 varieties here: Alapaha, Columbus, and Pink Lemonade. And instead of putting Alapaha 1, 2, 3, which I should have done, I alternated them all the way down. So when you have one variety, it's much easier and it fruits early. It's really better just to have it all in one row or have it together in one of the rows. And it just makes so much more sense because it's so much easier to pick them and to net them at the time they need the netting. And they will need netting because I like blueberries to be really sweet. And these turn blue, but then when they turn blue and stay on the plant for a few weeks, they're just amazing. They turn into candy. So behind you is a red filbert. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, that's one of the pretty times of that one. You see, I've done some layering to that. We can't find that anywhere to buy. So, and they're having trouble in tissue culture reproducing it. So I'm layering it there, and I did get about 8 or 9 plants this year, and hopefully next year I'll get more. So with this guy, I'd probably stay here and do some pruning with it, and you can see what happens when you prune back. It'll resurge and get some new growth, and that's always good if the plant. I don't think there's anything over 4 years old here. It might be 5 years old. But these are one of the last plantings that we did. You can also see the soil has been changed to a nice mulch. And I'm looking at, this is the hard part with blueberries, is that if you want to keep it short, guess what? just cut off all of your fruit. There's all your fruit buds there. But if I keep it short, next year, it should be better. And if I can get to it toward in the summertime, it might be even better that I keep things down. These are great for propagating, but you don't want when you propagate, you don't want these fruit buds. You take them off. And if I cut about here, and what we do is we put these in like a 2-inch pot, and they're very specific. You have to put pure peat or mostly peat with about 10% perlite unless your peat is not boggy. You want a sharp peat, so pine fine, something like that. But then that goes in just about that deep, about a 1/2 inch deep, so you really stuff the soil medium into the pot so that it stays up on its own without going too deep. We have a problem here of if we buy these in, and the company that does them, a lot of times they're planted that deep, and then if we plant them that deep in our new pot, they usually end up dying or not growing because they're planted too deep. So you have to peel that all back and bring them. But anyway, if you do blueberry cuttings, which is fun, you know, you can propagate them, you do have to use the pure peat. They will not, like figs, we put in straight perlite or kiwi, but we can't do that with these guys. They're more specific. So I get a lot of that's going into the center. I'm just seeing where they're crossing. Don't really want a lot of crossing. And should I cut this guy back to keep him so that I can net him, or should I just get a wider net? It's like, what do you do with a plant? If the plant wants to get more than 7 feet tall, well, what are you going to do? You know, that's the way it is. But it looks like all 3 of these are that vigorous. That's an Alabama. And then this is an Alabama. So, you know, every third one is the Alabama. And they're doing really well. Did you get any Alabama at your place?
I think we did.
I really like this variety. It's a new variety from Georgia, and it's early ripening and just real candy taste to it. I'm looking at all of this one. This one, I could open up that one a bit. I may not even get to these this year. You know, I may just let them go. So. And that's basically because there's just so much else to do here. Or I may get this third Alapaha, bring him down a little bit because he definitely is not going to fit the net. And you can see that these are going to be really loaded with the fruit. Being close to the woods, I have trouble with squirrels coming over and finding these. And you know, it's away from the nursery. It's quiet down here. They can work their magic pretty much all day.
What about some of the willowy branches that are going straight up or coming in a little bit? I feel like that one's branching out there. Would you want to take any of those super willowy ones down a little, or no? Like these ones? They're going up. Would you want to ask it to branch out lower down rather than up high?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's like got all this new growth, all these buds, and then here it climaxes with a whole bunch of big fruit set. Mm-hmm. And you're totally right. It's just gonna get too tall. Mm-hmm. And I would like it to be down in this area, like this one has done. Did I do anything with that? Yes. See, I cut that one there, and then I got this nice. You know, in 2 years you got this really nice piece here. So cut that one back too, and then hopefully I'll get a nice little circle here. Yeah, I think you're right about that. It almost looks like I cut this one here a couple years ago, but had I cut it here, I'd have been much happier because now it's too tall. That's for sure. So saying that, this one's going into the middle here. Yeah, I almost want to go here and just start all over again.
How do you prune a blueberry that?
So if I do that, I should be able to get that in a couple of years. Now look at all the propagation material I got.
How would you prune a blueberry that you've got that's like you've never pruned, it's gotten huge?
And
like-
you know what variety it is.
I don't remember what variety it is.
And it's gotten huge.
Yeah, it's at my parents' place down in Georgia.
Well, in Georgia, a Lapaha would be 3 times this size.
Yeah.
They get really big in Georgia. If it's producing really well, if you want to cut out some of the really old branches, but not all the way back, and have them regroup, I think that's fine. But it sounds like it's just doing fine just the way it is, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's not bird netting probably big enough for it anyways.
No. Yeah, that's why I was thinking about cutting it.
All right. Well, since I'm at it, and I know I've cut off a lot of fruit, but at the same time, there's a lot of fruit still on there. And I can net this now, easily. And it'll have netting on the bottom. And it is coming, it's got this little guy coming out here. Maybe if I start early with that, I'll have it branching lower and producing more in a couple of years. So I think maybe I will do this whole row. I feel better now that Kelly has put her input in. That's great.
Michael,
Yeah, that looks a lot better to me as far as I can do something with it now and I still have fruit. Yeah. What a beautiful day. Yeah, this is great. Yeah.
earlier you mentioned the different varieties. So like, is there any pruning differences between like a rabbit's eye versus a high bush?
Yeah, so these are going to be a lot more.
This is high bush, right?
No, this
No,
is
it's
rabbit eye.
rabbit eye,
Well,
okay.
this is actually hybrid.
Okay.
It's both, but and they're usually pretty vigorous like this. A Lapaha definitely is. It's got more of the southern type in it, I think. But if we go back to the Ricas, which are more high bush, I want to see this kind of growth. You know, I want to see new growth coming like that. If I'm not getting that, then it's either I'm not watering it enough or fertilizing it enough, or there's too many weeds. There's something going on that's, not making it do this. And sometimes by pruning, you can invigorate it. So
would you say like with the rabbit's eye, they're a little more productive even with neglect versus the high bush or a little
yes,
more high maintenance?
definitely,
Okay.
definitely, yeah. Yeah, I've got a climax over in this area that is probably 8 by 10, and yeah, I can take gallon buckets and fill them from that plant, and it's pure rabbit eye.
Okay.
All right. So if you guys want to take a break and take some tea and stuff, we can just